Tonight, we go in search of 7 wonders, the 7 greatest marvels of the ancient world, scattered across its oldest kingdoms like jewels across a map. Long ago, when the world was younger and a journey of 100 miles could take a season, the travelers of the ancient world began to keep a list. A small list of only 7 things. 7 sights so beautiful, so enormous, so far beyond what ordinary hands seemed able to make, that to see them was the journey of a lifetime. They called them simply the wonders of the world. And of those 7 wonders, scattered across the old kingdoms of the earth, only one is still standing today. Tonight, slowly and gently, we are going to go and find all 7. But before we set out, if these slow journeys through history help carry you off to sleep, take a moment now to subscribe to the channel, and we will be here to do this for you again, every single night. Whenever sleep will not come and find us, and we will slip away somewhere quiet and far from here, together. We're going to travel the way the ancients did, without hurry, drifting from one wonder to the next across calm seas and quiet deserts, pausing at each one just long enough to see it glowing in the last of the light. If you fall asleep somewhere along the road, somewhere between a marble temple and a lighthouse fire, that is exactly as it should be. The story will still be here when you wake. The wonders have waited a very long time already. So settle in and let the day fall away behind you. Picture, if it helps, a low warm fire and a soft map spread open on a table, its edges curling, its ink faded, marked with 7 small drawings in 7 far-flung places. We are going to follow that map all the way to the end, to the oldest wonder of them all, the only one that still remains. Let's begin where the very idea began. The list of 7 wonders was made by the travelers and poets of the Greek world more than 2,000 years ago. Writers with names like Antipater and Philo gathered up the greatest sights a person could hope to see and wrote them down so that others might dream of them or set out to find them. The lists did not always agree. One poet would name a great wall where another named a lighthouse. The 7 shifted a little from telling to telling, the way the best stories do. But over the centuries, the world settled on 7, and those are the 7 we will visit tonight. And here is the strange and beautiful thing about them. Even in the ancient world, even to the people who made the list, some of these wonders were already half a legend. Some had fallen before the travelers could reach them. Some may never have existed at all, except in the wonder of those who swore they had seen them. We are setting out, in other words, on a journey to 7 places, knowing already that we will lose 6 of them along the way. But not yet. For this story, they are all still standing. Let's go east first, far to the east, to where our first wonder may or may not have ever grown at all. Our journey begins in the old land between 2 rivers, the wide flat country the Greeks called Mesopotamia, where the city of Babylon once rose out of the dust in walls of blue and gold. And there, Somewhere in that hot and ancient city, the stories say, there grew a garden in the sky. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Imagine a mountain of green in the middle of a flat brown plain. Not a hill, but a thing that people built. On purpose, stone terrace stacked upon stone terrace, each one wider below and narrower above, rising in great gentle steps like the rows of a theatre, and spilling over the edge of every terrace, tumbling down the warm stone in soft green waterfalls, grew trees and vines and flowers from every corner of the known world. Date palms and cypress, fig and pomegranate, blossoms in colors the desert had never seen. From a distance, in the shimmering heat, it must have looked like a green hill that floated, a forest growing in the empty air. And the marvel was not only the green, it was the water. For a garden to hang in the dry Babylonian sky, water had to climb. Somehow, the ancient gardeners lifted water up out of the river far below and carried it to the very top, where it could trickle down through every level, cool and constant, in a land where rain was rare. The Greek travelers who described it spoke of clever machines, of a great screw that turned and drew the river upward, of hidden channels sealed with reed and lead so the water would never seep away. A whole secret machinery of coolness and green, hidden inside a mountain that should not have been able to exist. Imagine walking up through it in the heavy gold of a Babylonian afternoon. Imagine climbing the wide, shallow steps from terrace to terrace, out of the glare and the dust of the city below, and feeling the air grow cooler and softer with every level you rise. The sound of the city fading, the trickle of running water somewhere just out of sight, the shade of broad green leaves moving over you, and the scent all around of damp earth and blossom and ripening fruit, in the middle of a desert where such things had no business being. Birds in the high branches, the whole world gone quiet and green and kind. To walk there must have felt like climbing up out of the ordinary world into a gentler one, a garden floating above the heat, halfway to the sky. And here is the mystery, the deepest of all our 7. We do not actually know that the Hanging Gardens were ever real. Of all the wonders, this is the only one whose very existence is uncertain. Because for all the Greek travelers who marveled at it, the people of Babylon themselves left not a single word about it. Their king, Nebuchadnezzar, recorded everything he ever built, every wall and gate and temple, carved in clay and stone, and nowhere, not once, did he mention a garden in the sky. And the great Greek historian who walked through Babylon and described its wonders in loving detail somehow never thought to write the gardens down at all. So some say the gardens truly stood in Babylon and are simply lost beneath the dust, waiting. Some say they were never in Babylon at all, but far to the north, in another great city called Nineveh, built by a different king, and that over the long centuries the two cities blurred together in the retelling. And some say, very gently, that perhaps there was never any garden at all, only a story so lovely that everyone wished it true, until wishing made it one of the wonders of the world. We will never quite know, and there is something fitting in that, for the very first stop on our journey to be a green and beautiful question mark. A wonder made half of stone and half of longing. We will leave it there, glowing softly in the heat haze, neither quite real nor quite imagined, and turn our road toward the sea. Westward now, away from the rivers and across the dry hills to the bright coast of Asia Minor, where the land meets the blue Aegean. There, in the busy harbour city of Ephesus, stood a temple so vast and so white that sailors could see it long before they could see the shore. The Temple of Artemis. It was built for the goddess Artemis, and it was, by the account of everyone who ever stood before it, the most magnificent temple the ancient world ever raised. Picture not a building so much as a forest of marble. More than 100 columns of gleaming white stone, each one as tall as 6 men standing on each other's shoulders, marching in long rows across a platform the size of a small field. Sunlight came down between them in pale gold bars. Doves moved through the high shadows, and at the base of each great column, carved into the marble, were figures so fine they seemed about to step down and walk. It was twice the size of any temple the Greeks had built before. Travelers wrote that they had seen many sacred places, palaces and pyramids and walls, but that when they saw the Temple of Artemis rising into the clouds, all the others seemed to fall into shadow. To step inside was to lose yourself in cool white stone. The columns rose so high above you that their tops were lost in soft shadow, and walking among them was like walking through a grove of marble trees, the floor smooth and pale underfoot, the air still and cool and faintly sweet with incense. Here and there, a shaft of sun came slanting down between the pillars and lit a drifting column of dust, or the gold of an offering left at the goddess's feet. For pilgrims came from every land and left their treasures here, and the temple gleamed softly with all of it. You could stand in the middle of that marble forest and turn slowly around and see no end to the columns in any direction. Only white stone and pale light and quiet, and feel the whole great weight of the roof floating impossibly far above your head. It took 120 years to build, and it would not last. One night, in the cool of a summer long ago, a man set fire to it. His reasons were small and sad, only that he wished to be remembered, and he had decided that burning something beautiful was the surest way. The people of Ephesus were so angry that they forbade anyone to ever speak his name again, hoping he would vanish from memory entirely. The temple, though, they would not give up. They built it again, even grander than before, and for centuries more it stood, white and shining above the harbour. But the world slowly turned away from the old gods. The centuries wore on, raiders came, the worshippers grew few, and at last the great temple was taken apart, stone by stone, its marble carried off to other walls and other cities. Today, in a green Turkish field, a single column stands where the forest of marble once was. Just one, pieced back together from fallen fragments, standing alone in the long grass to mark where the most beautiful temple in the world once caught the morning sun. 2 wonders behind us now, 5 still ahead. We follow the coast southward, the sea always on our right hand, soft and dark and patient, until we come to another harbour and another marble marvel rising against the sky. This one was built not for a god, but for a man, and for his grief. The Mausoleum at Halicarnassus. In the city of Halicarnassus there ruled a man named Mausoleum, and when he died, the one who had loved him most could not bear to let him fade. So she gathered the finest builders and the greatest sculptors in all the world, and together they raised over his resting place a tomb so beautiful that it became a wonder of the earth. Picture a great square base of white marble, broad and solid as a fortress. Upon it, a ring of slender columns, 36 of them, holding up the sky. Above the columns, a roof that rose in 24 gentle marble steps, like a low pyramid climbing toward heaven. And at the very top, crowning the whole soaring structure, a chariot of marble drawn by 4 marble horses, frozen forever in mid-stride, with the figure of the king himself standing in the chariot, gazing out over his city and his sea. All across the white marble walls ran carved friezes, alive with horses and heroes, so finely cut that the stones seemed to move. It was so famous, so perfectly grand a tomb, that ever afterward, in every language that came after, any great and beautiful tomb came to be called by the dead king's name. We still use that word today, a mausoleum, a small piece of Halicarnassus, hidden inside a word we hardly think about, carried quietly down all the years. The tomb of Mausoleum was a patient wonder. While other marvels burned or fell, it simply stood, century after century, long after the city around it had changed its name and its gods and its language. It stood for more than 1,000 years. But the earth beneath that coast is restless, and slowly, over the ages, earthquakes shook it and cracked it, and at last brought the proud marble down. And much later, when knights came to build a castle by the harbour, they found the fallen marble lying ready to hand, and they carried it away to raise their walls. To this day, you can see smooth blocks of the king's tomb set into the stones of that seaside castle, holding up a fortress, holding up the years. We are halfway now. The night is deep and the road is soft. Let us cross the water to the heart of the Greek world, to a quiet green valley where the first games were held, a place called Olympia. There, inside a temple in a grove of olive trees, sat a god made of gold, the statue of Zeus at Olympia. He was made by the greatest sculptor who ever lived, a man named Phidias, and he was not a statue you looked at so much as a presence you stood before. Imagine stepping out of the bright Greek sun into the cool shadow of a temple, and finding there, filling the whole far end of the great hall, the king of the gods himself, seated upon a throne. He was made of gold and ivory, his skin the warm pale ivory of elephant tusk, his robe and his crown and his scepter all of shining gold. In one open hand he held a small winged figure of victory, in the other a scepter with an eagle resting upon it. His throne was dark cedar wood, inlaid with gold and ebony and glimmering jewels, painted with stories, guarded by carved lions. And he was enormous. Seated, His head nearly brushed the roof of the temple, so that visitors used to say, with a kind of nervous wonder, that if the god ever chose to stand, he would lift the whole roof from the building and step out into the sky. Before him, set into the temple floor, lay a still, shallow pool of olive oil, dark and mirror smooth. And it caught the gold of him and threw it softly back, so that the god seemed to glow with a light of his own in the dimness. People came from across the world simply to stand in that quiet hall and feel very small and very safe in the presence of something so vast and so calm. There was a hush in that place that travelers tried and mostly failed to describe. The cool, dim air after the bright valley outside, the way the gold of him seemed to hold its own soft light gathered up out of the shadows, the faint smell of olive oil and old cedar and stone. You would have heard your own footsteps go quiet as you crossed the floor, and then nothing. Only the great calm face of the god above you, looking out over your head at something far away and eternal. His expression neither stern nor kind, but simply, endlessly at peace. People wrote that they came in tired and troubled and went out lighter, as though some of the stillness of that golden figure had passed quietly into them. That was the wonder of it. Not only that it was beautiful, but that it made you feel for a little while that all was well. For some 800 years he sat there, golden in the temple's shadow. And then the old world changed once more. The games were ended, the temple fell silent, and the great statue was seen no longer. Some say he was carried far away to a distant city and lost there to a fire. Some say he burned in his own temple when it fell. The record grows quiet, and the accounts disagree, and the truth slips away into the dark. We know only that the most beautiful image of a god the world had ever made simply, gently vanished, leaving behind an empty temple in an olive grove and the memory of a golden light reflected in a pool of oil. 5 wonders seen, 2 remain, and both of the last 2, as it happens, were built of fire and of stone, and both stood watch over harbors. Let us sail on through the warm dark to an island where, for a short and shining while, a giant of bronze stood beside the sea. The Colossus of Rhodes. The island of Rhodes had come through a long and frightening siege and survived it. And to give thanks, the islanders decided to build a statue to their patron, the sun god Helios. Not an ordinary statue, the largest statue in all the world. They melted down the bronze and iron the enemy had left behind, and over a dozen patient years they raised up. Beside their harbor, a figure of the sun god more than 30 meters tall, gleaming warm bronze in the Mediterranean light, his head crowned, perhaps, with the rays of the sun. A young god of metal, tall as a tower, looking out over the blue water and the little wooden ships coming home. Now, there is an old picture of the Colossus that you may carry in your mind, of the giant standing with 1 foot on each side of the harbor mouth, while ships sail in between his legs. It is a wonderful image. It is also gently not true. That picture was dreamed up far, far later, long after the statue was gone, and the real Colossus never straddled the harbor at all. He stood, as a person stands, on solid ground beside the water, on a great pedestal of white stone, one more tall and shining figure on a shore full of statues, only very much larger. That is wonder enough. We do not need the legend. And here is the gentlest sadness of all the seven. The Colossus, the largest and most dazzling of them, stood for the shortest time. Barely more than 50 years after he was raised, while he was still bright and new, the earth shook, and the great bronze god broke at the knees and came down along the shore. But even fallen, he was a wonder. The pieces were so vast that travelers came from far away simply to stand among them, to marvel at a bronze hand the size of a man, a fallen finger few could wrap their arms around. And the people of Rhodes, told by an oracle to leave him where he lay, did exactly that. So for nearly 900 years, far longer than he had ever stood, the Colossus rested along the harbor of Rhodes, a quiet, sleeping giant of green gold bronze, lying in the grass and the sea air, while the centuries drifted over him. Think of that, gently, for a moment. A fallen god the size of a temple, lying full length along the warm shore, his great bronze limbs going slowly green in the salt air, wild flowers growing up around his curved fingers, lizards sunning themselves on his shoulder, the tide whispering in and out beside him, year after year after year. Children who played in his shadow grew old and died, and their grandchildren grew old, and still he lay there, patient and enormous and at rest, looking up at the same blue sky he had once stood beneath. He spent so much longer sleeping by that harbor than he ever spent standing over it. Only after all those long centuries was the great bronze at last gathered up and carried away and melted down to become 1,000 smaller things, and the Colossus passed quietly out of the world, one wonder left to find before the oldest of all, and it, too, kept watch over a harbor with a light. Let us sail south now, across the open sea toward Egypt, through a night so dark that sailors could lose the whole world. And then, low on the horizon, a single point of warm orange fire, steady and welcoming, growing as we draw near, until it resolves into the tallest tower the ancient world had ever built, the Lighthouse of Alexandria. At the mouth of the great harbor of Alexandria, on a low island of pale limestone, the kings of Egypt raised a tower to hold a fire. And what a tower! It rose in 3 great tiers, each one set back from the one below, like 3 buildings stacked one upon another and reaching for the sky. A square base, broad and strong, an 8-sided middle, and a round top, slender and graceful. No one is quite sure exactly how tall it stood, for the measurements are lost. But the careful guesses run to 120 meters or more, taller than anything else made by human hands for a very long time after. White stone, rising and rising out of the blue water, the tallest thing for as far as a ship could sail. And at the very top, night and day, a fire. By night it burned, a steady, warm flame held up against the whole dark Mediterranean, and behind it, the stories say, a great mirror of polished bronze caught the light and threw it far out to sea, so that sailors a day's voyage away could see Alexandria glowing on the edge of the world and steer for home. By day, perhaps, that same mirror flashed the sunlight as a signal, a fire to guide the lost in, held up in the dark by a tower of white stone. Of all the wonders, this one did the kindest work. It simply helped people find their way home. Picture being one of those sailors. Picture a small wooden ship far out on the night sea, the stars hidden behind cloud, no land in any direction. Only the dark water lifting and falling, and the cold uncertainty of not knowing quite where you are. And then, low on the black horizon, the faintest warm point of orange, steady, unwavering, growing slowly as the hours pass and the oars pull, until it is unmistakably a fire. A great calm fire burning high in the dark, and you know, with a flood of relief, that it is Alexandria, and that you are nearly home. For 1,000 years that fire kept its watch so that tired people on the sea would not be lost. There is no gentler thing for a wonder to do. It guided ships for more than 1,000 years. 1,000 years of sailors, generation after generation, looking up in the night and seeing that faithful light. But the same patient earthquakes that toppled the bronze giant came at last for the lighthouse too, shaking it across the long centuries, a little lower each time, until the great tower was only a ruin on its island. And in the end, an Egyptian sultan took the fallen stones, the very bones of the lighthouse, and built from them a fortress to guard the harbor, so that even now, where the fire once burned, a castle stands on the lighthouse's stones and watches over the same blue water. And far below, on the floor of the harbor, divers in our own time have found great blocks of carved stone lying in the green dark, fallen pieces of the tower, sleeping under the sea. 6 wonders now behind us. 6 we have found, and one by one, gently lost. The garden that may never have grown. The temple taken apart for other walls. The tomb turned into a castle, and a word. The golden god who vanished into the dark. The bronze giant melted into 1,000 things. The lighthouse sunk beneath its own harbor. All of them gone. All of them now only words and wonder, carried down to us by the travelers who once stood beneath them and tried to find the language for what they saw. And yet, our journey is not over. For there is one wonder left, the oldest of them all, older than all the others by far, and it is still there. We sail the last stretch of our journey down to Egypt and up the green ribbon of the Nile, and out at last onto the desert plateau at Giza, where the oldest wonder in the world has been waiting, patiently, longer than almost anything that human beings have ever made. The Great Pyramid. It was already ancient when the travelers made their list. Think on that for a moment, softly as you lie there. When the Greek poets wrote down the 7 wonders, the hanging gardens, if they were ever real, were a few centuries old. The lighthouse was newer still. But the Great Pyramid had already been standing for more than 2,000 years before any of them. It was as old to the ancient Greeks as the ancient Greeks are to us. It had already watched whole worlds rise and fall before the other wonders were even imagined. It was built for a pharaoh named Khufu almost 46 centuries ago by thousands of skilled workers from across Egypt who came season after season to move the great stones into place. Not slaves, as the old tales sometimes say, but builders, fed and paid and housed in their own villages beside the work, who raised over 2 million blocks of limestone into a single perfect mountain of stone, so vast and so precisely made that even now we marvel at how careful hands could have done it. And it did not always look the way it looks today. When it was new, the whole pyramid was sheathed in smooth, polished white limestone, fitted so tightly you could not have slipped a blade between the stones, gleaming so brightly in the desert sun that it must have been almost too dazzling to look upon. A mountain of white light on the edge of the red desert, perhaps crowned at its very peak with a single shining capstone, visible for miles and miles across the valley and the river. The newest, brightest, most enormous thing in the world. Stand at its foot in your mind and look up. The polished white slope rising away from you, smooth as still water, climbing and climbing until its edge cut a clean line against the deep blue Egyptian sky. The desert silent all around, the heat shimmering, the green thread of the Nile far below. You could not take it in all at once. The eye simply could not hold something so large and so perfect, made by hands, set down here at the edge of the sand. And it was already old, even then, old beyond old. The people who would later call it a wonder were not even a thought yet. Whole languages had not yet been invented, and still it stood, gleaming and patient, keeping the kind of time that mountains keep. That bright white casing is gone now, carried off long ago to build a nearby city, and the pyramid we see today is the great stepped core beneath, golden brown in the sun. But it stands, after everything, after the garden and the temple and the tomb, after the god and the giant and the lighthouse, after earthquakes and fires, and the slow, erasing hand of time took all the others away. The oldest wonder of them all simply remained. It is still there tonight, out on the dark plateau under the same stars, exactly where it has stood for nearly 5,000 years. 6 of the 7 wonders are gone. We met them all tonight, and we watched them all slip away into legend, into rubble, into the sea, into a single column standing in a field. They live now only in the words of the travelers who loved them, and in quiet stories told in the dark, like this one. There is no shame in that. To be remembered with wonder, long after you are gone, is its own kind of lasting. And the 7th wonder is still standing, still keeping its long watch over the desert and the river, patient and enormous and calm, as the stars wheel slowly over it, the way they have for 50 centuries. It simply remains. So let yourself grow heavy and still now, like that great pyramid out on the silent sands. The journey is done, We found all 7, the 6 that vanished, and the 1 that stays. There is nothing more to look for tonight, and nowhere left to sail. The map can be folded and set aside. The fire has burned down low and warm. Let the lost wonders glow gently in the dark behind your eyes. The green garden and the marble temple, the golden god and the bronze giant and the faithful lighthouse fire. Let them fade, soft and unhurried, the way they faded from the world, leaving only wonder behind. And let the oldest one keep its watch while you sleep, steady and silent under the stars, as it always has, and as it will long after this quiet night is over. Rest now. The wonders will keep. Sleep well.